Test, 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 test. Hi, everyone. Today, I wanted to talk about what it's like to be savior play. My specific type of play is SETE play. That's extroverted sensing and extroverted thinking. My official full type, I'm a double feminine, SETE, play, blast, sleep, consume. So my saviors are SE and TE. They're both feminine, very movable, fluid. So this is just going to be a very play type of video as usual. Even though I am an ST and therefore I speak pretty clearly, pretty literally, I am not a consume or sleep savior. And so what I say is just really spontaneous and off the cuff, unplanned. Sorry, my dog started gagging and then she stopped. So I think she's okay. Yeah, she's okay. So anyway, my goodness, let's talk about play. Play is defined as your DE plus OEs. So for me, it would be my TE and my SE. They're both my saviors and they're both feminine. Play is engaging with the tribe. It's a two-way interaction, being able to toss the ball back and forth with someone in conversation or activity, able to make witty remarks, maybe humorous remarks, able to take what was said and throw it back. I like to think that these videos are a way of play for me, even though I'm not necessarily talking to anyone else. There is an invisible audience, and so I feel like this gets my play energy out. My experience as a savior play, I'm a weird one because I'm savior play, but I'm also demon friend. Typically, someone with savior play, and especially EPs, are going to be a social type number 2. They aren't demon friends. But for me, I am a social type number 1, so I am demon friends. I feel like I'm not the typical EP. I don't love having to entertain or to engage or to interact with people. I really don't. I much prefer to be by myself. I don't know what it is. It's not that I don't like people. It's just it just takes a lot out of me. As a feminine savior TE, I'm basically forced to be friendly and to wear this mask of niceness and politeness, pleasantness and smiles all the time. Inside, my masculine FI is like, leave me alone. I'm double activated on my savior feminine TE, which means I have no choice but to just put on this like friendly, polite, smiley. And I think it doesn't help that I'm a female, and so I'm expected to be nice and polite. I was also raised by a Japanese mother. Japanese culture is very polite, agreeable. All of that kind of combined with my savior feminine TE just makes me very outwardly unaggressive. I'm very conflict avoidant. Because I am savior play, I am okay with playing along. I think there's a lot of like savior sleeps or the super serious ones who will absolutely not play along and won't get up and just be a goofball. Like they won't make a fool of themselves. But because I'm savior play, I'm okay with that. I don't really care about making fun of myself. And I'm very flexible with being interrupted during my day or putting out random fires or random chaos happening. I'm really quick to think on my feet if an emergency task or something comes up. I'm very, very spontaneous, go with the flow. In fact, I kind of like it when things come up because it's like the urgency switches and I know how high that priority is versus having like a slow day where things aren't due immediately. I'm just like bored. As a SETE play, some of the downside to having savior play, I do need a lot of input because TE, as my savior state, is an extroverted decider. That means I'm making decisions externally versus someone who is DI is able to internally come to the decision and then act on that. I seek a lot of opinion and I seek a lot of input. I want to think it out, work it out with the tribe, and then come to a consensus on a decision that makes sense for everybody or the mission at hand. Also, because I'm a play blast, sleep consume, that makes me technically really cranked up on the extroversion. Because of the way I'm wired as savior play, I cannot stop helping other people. Any urgent request that comes in, I'm on it. It makes me a really great worker, makes me a hard worker, but I can't just put on the brakes and say, "Hey, my plate is loaded today, but let me get back to you on that." That's not my default state. My default state is, "Let me take care of it right now." That's not great for me. I think I tire myself out at the whim of other people's needs. They're tossing the ball to me because they'll know I'll catch it. Because I'm so reactive and because I'm not really processing things before I act. I just like it when I can jump in and start something and start doing. I don't want to learn to do. I want to do to learn. One of my SE strengths is aesthetics. I'm really good at like collaging and placement of things to make it look aesthetically balanced and nice. I've known this for a long time, ever since I was young. I'm really good at making things look good, but I'm not good at organizing. My mom would always say, I remember like you used to arrange the veggie plates for our party, like you know how to organize. I don't think that was organization. I think it was more aesthetics. So another negative thing about savior play, because it's hard for me to put on the brakes, I tend to have really bad self-restraint. I'll say a lot of things without thinking, or I'll do things without thinking about the consequences of my actions. And that has gotten me into a lot of trouble in the past. Because I'm double feminine, it's easy for people to forgive me. One person who never, ever, ever, ever tolerated that bullshit from me was my husband. He had like absolutely no tolerance for that type of behavior, and he would call me out and I would cry. I think in the past, I've been conditioned to believe that when I cry and I apologize, and I really was like broken up about any type of conflict because I hate conflict, but it usually would smooth things over. But with him, it's like there's no smoothing over. It's like, don't ever do that again. And I think that's been like the best form of growth for me, just absolutely no tolerance. I say this a lot, but I attribute him to a lot of my self growth. I'm a little bit too spontaneous and a little bit too impulsive. For example, talking to people that I shouldn't be talking to, but it's because I don't know how to say no and I don't know how to put on the brakes. I'll end up forging unwanted relationships. It was never good for me, but I felt compelled to. What helps me to put on the brakes is when my partner calls out my behavior. It was really hard for me to see that behavior in myself for the longest time. And I think because I'm so impulsive, I especially have to be careful about, I know in my heart that I have an addictive personality. I definitely went through a phase where I was abusing my Adderall prescription. Thankfully, I don't do that anymore. But my latest thing is I drink one of these every single day and I can't stop. On the bright side, it helps me with my productivity. That's my current fixation. If I were to ever start vaping, I know I would never end. Very aware of my latching on impulsive behavior. And I think at least I'm a little bit aware of that. My NIFI is masculine, so I have a little bit of awareness of these things. There have been like so many times in my life where I almost got a spontaneous tattoo. And a tattoo is very permanent, obviously, and not something that you should spontaneously get. And the first time I was with one of my best childhood friends, we just decided one night we're going to drive around and find a tattoo shop and get matching tattoos. But we just couldn't find one that would accept us. And so it was more like, oh man, like it's not going to happen tonight. And then we just kind of forgot about it. Thank God, though. I don't know what I would have gotten. No idea. Ugh. Thank goodness. And then the second time, one of my husband's friends came to visit us in Portland, and then his buddy is a tattoo artist, and he had this appointment, and he was like, "Hey, if you want to get a tattoo, he can squeeze you in." But at the time, I was very much into astrology. Hey, I was an early adopter, okay? I know it's like blowing up big time right now, but anyway, I wanted to get my astrology star shit with like a little crow gazing. Anyway, sketched it out in one night, and I was like, yeah, I'm gonna go, count me in. And it was my husband that put on the brakes and said, what the fuck are you doing? Don't do that. You need to think about it more. Like, what the fuck? He was not nice about it, but at the same time, like, I'm really glad he talked me out of it. Otherwise, I would have ended up with like a astrology. Anyway, I love tattoos. I wish I had hand tattoos and wrist tattoos. I think it would be really cool, but I cannot for the life of me commit. If I'm gonna get one, that's like the hardest thing in the world to narrow down to NI to decide. Because I'm OE, I could end up with like a million and just over gathering. Like I could see that for myself too. It reminds me of Kim Kardashian. I think she was asked like, why don't you have any tattoos? And she said something along the lines of, you would never put a bumper sticker on a Bugatti. And I have been thinking about that. I think it's a lot more rare now to find people that are not tattooed than people that are tattooed. In a way, it's like once I start, I know I won't stop. So that's been one of those things that I've been on the fence about for so long. It's like I so badly want tattoos, but I can't decide what to get. And I also feel like, do I? Do I want tattoos? I don't know. I don't know. One of the negative things that I don't like about being savior play is that I'm very opinion seeking. For me, because I'm SETE, it's not that I care about how people are necessarily judging me or how they feel about me. I care about others' opinions about my decisions, my quality of work, things like that. Even at work, I'm the head of marketing, so I should be able to call the shots, but I am programmed to need others' input. And even when I have a design of a merch that I feel very confidently on, I'll ask them, like, do you like this color or this color? Even though in the back of my head, I'm like, I kind of know which colors are going to sell the most, and I should just rely on my own experience and my own internal decider. I don't. I'm constantly like pestering people for their opinions. It's so dumb. It's so dumb. Why do I put their opinions on a pedestal when they don't have that experience? They don't have the same eye as me. I need to stop doing that. One good thing that I wanted to highlight about being a savior play, I'm always thinking about the reverse side of the pinging. So not only like how am I going to respond, but how do I package this in a way that would be fun for them to respond back to? So I'm constantly thinking about the other side and the other perspective as well. Also feel like I'm very sensitive to how people will understand it in their perspective. For example, one way to really catch someone who doesn't have savior play is that they won't repackage things, reword things for someone who clearly doesn't understand. If I'm talking to someone who English is their second language and they're already struggling enough to like understand what's being said to them, number one, I'm going to simplify my communication and I'm not going to use metaphors or sayings that have different meanings. Like that to me is obvious. Like you would never do that because they're not going to understand you. And then the whole conversation is like pointless. And if I catch that they're not grasping, then I'll think of a million ways to re-say it so that they understand it. Could also be that because I'm ST, I have that need to be ST clear. I want to close out this video by talking about some of my observations of play last. And I suspect that my husband is play last and I adore him. In some ways, I relate to him so much because I think he is an NIFI, masculine TE. He's so good at controlling, organizing, planning. His background is in finance, controlling budgets, forecasting, a lot of NI. My NI, even though it's a demon, it's double activated and it's masculine. So I'm one of those EPs that even though I'm easygoing, I want control. It's been a journey to really understand that and accept that. When I first got into this, I was like, no way, I'm the most go with the flow, non-controlling person ever. But at the heart of it, I think I yearn for control, and that is why he is the perfect match for me. Without him, I have no stability, routine. He creates that so effortlessly. And I think that I am controlling in other ways that aren't related to organization and planning. One thing that I did notice, bringing up my last example of not being able to repackage things when someone else doesn't understand, he kind of puts the burden on that person. If they don't understand, that's not my problem, which I think is so funny. But he doesn't really care about the other person and how they perceive or understand things. It's very much a them problem. Also, he's not willing to play along. If he thinks something is like stupid, he'll just sit out on the sidelines and be like, nope, I'm not doing it. One of the funniest things he ever told me, he grew up in Japan and he went to school in Japan, and they have these once a year track and field kind of things. It's called a undokai. You dress up in the cute little PE type of clothes, and the parents come, and there's all these activities where you do like running, rope pulling, and choreograph things. And I guess he was one of the kids who was supposed to stand up in a formation, maybe wave a flag and like say something. And the whole school was there. Parents were there, teachers were there. And when it was his turn to do the whatever, he just like sat down and wouldn't do it. That is so funny, especially in Japan. You would never do that. Anyway, I think he's hilarious because he's like that. As a savior play, I can't imagine ever being that defiant as a child. So anyway, all that to say, he won't play along. And if we were to all go to like karaoke with my family or something, he will not once grab the microphone and sing. He'll sit there and watch all of us and he won't participate. And I think the only time I've ever seen him like sing is one of those nights in Vegas where we were taking so many shots and we just got so blitzed and he was like rapping along to every single word and I was like, you know the words? Like you never sing. Even in the car he doesn't sing. I did read one forum on Demon Play, and someone talked about how they actually do like dancing and they would like choreograph things in private. They love dancing, but would they ever, ever, ever dance for someone in front of someone? Absolutely not. So nobody knows that they know how to dance. And maybe it's like that with my husband, you know? Maybe he actually does like rap in the car by himself, but like I just don't know about it. I don't know because I'm the opposite. If there's a song in the car that I love, bitch, I'm gonna be dancing, I'm gonna be singing. I can't help it. I'm also feminine SE, and so I'm just like moved by the music that I love. And lastly, I wanted to share this recent fight that I had with my husband because as I was rehashing it out in my mind and like thinking about it, I kind of thought, this really does relate to savior play versus missing play. So let me set the stage for you. He randomly mentioned to me that the following day he was going to be busy clearing and installing a skate ramp that he bought. And I got so angry. It took me like 4 days to really process why I was so angry about it. But this is the thing. As a savior play, you know how I'm obsessed with getting other people's input before making decisions? Not only did he already make these weekend plans without me, he's also installing the skate ramp. Does that mean every single weekend he's going to be gone? I think all of that was subconsciously going on in my head. But more than anything, I was really hurt that he did not once ask for my input, like, hey, what do you think? Or I'm excited that I'm going to be doing he didn't mention it. And then just like out of the blue, boom, came up. And it really hurt my feelings because I understand now that he's savior and he did all this planning and deciding without me. And then he was just informing me that it was gonna happen. That I think in the moment, I was just like so heated and pissed because I just felt very, very hurt and left out. And of course, my brain like took it way too far about his intentions. But the thing is, he didn't have any bad intentions. He was just in his savior state doing what he does. And I got so mad about it. But it's because he's my favorite person and I would include him. Like, no matter how small the decision, I would probably like tell him about it, which maybe now that I'm thinking about it, maybe it's annoying to him. Maybe I shouldn't like bring up every little thing. He's probably like, yeah, okay, like why don't you think about that by yourself? I don't know. Maybe he's thinking that. I don't know. Anyway, I think that's a pretty interesting dynamic between a savior play. It is their default nature to include you in the decision making, in the thinking out loud, in the opinions. But the savior sleep is going to think, why do I need to do that? And it's true, they don't need to. Going back to the topic of me yearning for control or being that controlling EP, I think that's one of the ways that it manifests. I have no idea how long this video is. Good fucking luck to me to edit it down. Okay, I will see you guys in the next one. Bye.